Okay, welcome back, everyone. Nice to see you guys made it back from lunch. I understand there was a vigorous board game going on at the pizzeria after we broke and during lunch. So nice to see you guys made it back. We are going to be learning Buddhist chanting this afternoon. I'm going to teach you guys all about Buddhist chanting, and then I'm going to teach you how to do Buddhist chanting, and then we're going to put it together with meditation afterwards. So if you guys would like to learn Buddhist chanting, that's what I'm going to share with you guys now. Let me be sure I turn on the live stream visual aids so that everybody, yes, online can see the visual aids. Perfect. So this chanting, I'll just give you a little bit of history of chanting first before I actually explain to you, the purpose behind it and the benefit, and then actually how to do it. Is the way that chanting came about is that during the lifetime of the Buddha, everything that he taught was oral. The languages that we had developed in humanity up to that point, a lot of them weren't written languages because the technology to write things down didn't yet exist all throughout the world. It existed in China, but it hadn't made its way to that region of the world where the Buddha was born in Nepal, what we refer to as Nepal in Northeast India. So the vast majority of the world 2,500 years ago, they just had oral traditions of speaking. They didn't even have a script. So the language that the Buddha taught with during his life didn't even have a script because it was just an oral language. They didn't have a reason for a script because there was no technology to write things down yet. So everything he taught was oral. People would just remember his teachings. And then every 2 weeks, they would come together and they would recite his teachings, word for word for word for word. This is how they committed them to memory, is through chanting. But nowadays, with chanting, some people think there's these mystical, magical benefits with chanting, or it's prayer or worship or something like that, but that's actually not what it is at all. That during the lifetime of the Buddha, they just recited his teachings. So everything that I taught this morning for those 3 hours that we were here, then the students would recite that word for word for word for word, and that's how they committed it to memory. So we don't need chanting in order to commit teachings to memory anymore. We have books, we have videos, we have podcasts, we have all these different ways to capture the teachings. But chanting has continued in the world because of its history going all the way back to the lifetime of the Buddha. These particular chants that I'm going to introduce you to, and I'm going to explain to you the benefit of them, I don't think the Buddha actually created them himself at all, because if you read the English translations, there's a lot of respect and admiration and gratitude to the Buddha. And a Buddha isn't going to walk around and be like, here, chant this to me and make sure you respect me and make sure you show me admiration and gratitude. He wouldn't have done that. So I suspect his students created these either during his life or after his death, because if you learn from a teacher who help you move from the anger and the sadness and frustration and all those other discontent feelings to the peace and the joy that is the enlightened mind. And he didn't want anything from you, or she didn't want anything from you, didn't expect anything from you. They just helped you to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. You'd have a lot of respect and gratitude for that person too. So his students during his life, and even now after his death, that's why the Thai people respect the Buddha so much, because they know his teachings are so impactful and so helpful in your life. So I suspect his students created these either during his life or after his death, because a Buddha would have already eliminated his ego and his arrogance, so he wouldn't have gone around and taught people to chant to him. So I chant these for various reasons, and I'm going to share those reasons with you so you can understand why I chant. The first reason is that when you read the guidance of the Buddha about meditation and you read his own words about meditation, he says that before you meditate, to set up mindfulness in front of you. This is his instruction and his guidance about how to meditate. What it means to set up mindfulness in front of you is mindfulness is awareness of mind, where you develop this awareness of your mind, because that's what you're going to ultimately need as a quality in order to purify your mind. You're going to need some awareness of your mind. So when I'm chanting, what it helps to do is kind of invigorate the mind a bit. It helps to bring this awareness to the mind. Rather than just coming in and plopping down and starting to meditate, it helps to build this awareness of your mind that you can ease into meditation and actually get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you do chanting, fine. But if not, you're going to need to do something else where you're setting up mindfulness in front of you before you start meditating. So this chanting can help you accomplish that. But if you don't use chanting, you can use something else, because you don't have to chant in order to get to enlightenment. This is the only one thing that I'll ever teach you that I say this is optional, that if you didn't do this, you could still get to enlightenment, right? But everything else that I teach you in terms of the fetters and the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths, the meditation, all this other stuff, you're going to need that in order to get to enlightenment. But you don't have to chant in order to get to enlightenment. But you will need to set up mindfulness in front of you before you ease into meditation. Otherwise, you're just plopping into meditation and you're not going to really get the full benefit out of meditation. So if chanting works for you to be able to do that, wonderful. If it doesn't and you're not interested in it, then fine. You don't need to use it. But this is something that you can use, because nowadays we don't use it for memorizing the teachings. It's done for these reasons. One is to set up mindfulness in front of you, which develops that awareness of mind, the concentration, and the memory. Your mind is just like a muscle. If you didn't exercise your muscles, they would basically, go away. I mean, they wouldn't completely go away, but you wouldn't have the strength in your arms or your legs if you didn't exercise regularly by going for walks or whatever it is. Our muscles would deteriorate over time. So the mind is the same way. If you don't exercise the mind, it'll gradually deteriorate. That's why when people age that haven't trained their mind will deteriorate. But if you train your mind, particularly like this, when you're at this age, your mind won't deteriorate as you get older. All those symptoms that we associate with old age, those won't happen for someone who's enlightened. You won't have a deterioration of your mind as you become older. So here, with exercising your mind, with chanting, you'll notice that you develop this awareness of mind, this concentration, and this memory, because you're going to need to memorize this. It's like exercising the mind by giving it a certain practice that is going to help it to develop this memory, this awareness of mind, and this concentration. It also helps you develop awareness of breath, because as you're chanting, you not only need to have awareness of your mind, but awareness of your breath. You're going to see when I teach you how to chant, I'm going to show you where the ideal places are to take a breath. So if you can do a little bit of chanting, which this takes about 2.5 minutes to go through these chants, if you do it all the way through, then when you start your meditation, you've already got awareness of the mind and you've already got awareness of the breath. Those are the two things that you need in order to meditate, or at least two of the things that you need in order to meditate. So if you can start your meditation with a bit of awareness of mind and awareness of breath, you're going to get more benefit out of the meditation itself versus just plopping down into meditation. So the chanting will really help you to get those benefits out of the meditation. It also helps to slow, relax, and ease the mind into meditation, because your mind might be running really rapidly. Like maybe if you're at lunch playing a board game and you had to hurry up and go to your hostel or something, maybe your mind is a little bit frazzled when you get to wherever it is that you're going. Maybe you're going to work, or maybe you're going to have a meeting with a lawyer or something like this. Well, if you do a little bit of chanting before your meditation, it'll kind of calm the mind down and ease you into meditation. Or any number of things could be happening in your life. Maybe you just got some news on the phone about some tragic situation that's happened, and now you're getting ready to meditate and your mind's kind of shaken up from that. So if you develop this as a regular practice, it will calm your mind down and slow your mind down by doing the chanting, and then you'll get more benefit out of the meditation itself. Also, as you're practicing these teachings, sometimes people have a hard time to experience progress. I know for me, I didn't really understand these teachings much when I first started learning them, and it was hard for me to see that there was any progress. Other people, they can have progress in just 2 days, like you guys heard me share this morning. So if you're chanting, this was like an audible indication for me that my practice was improving, and it was motivating because I could hear each time I chanted week by week, I could hear the sound getting better and better and better. And it was like some motivation and some encouragement for me to keep going forward in my practice. So chanting can be like an audible indication for you that things are improving, because as your mind becomes more clear and more focused and concentrated, your chanting will improve. This is one of the reasons why Buddhist monks, they will chant at the beginning before they actually start teaching, because it's kind of like helping the audience to see how clear is this person's mind. It's not that you're performing, it's not that you're that you should be judging somebody, but it actually helps you to see how clear is this person's mind, because if they're chanting really beautifully, there's a good indication that their mind is well trained, because they're able to chant, because it takes a certain amount of memory in your mind. It takes a certain amount of functioning of the mind, certain awareness of the breath to be able to chant. So it's an audible indication for you that your practice is improving. It also helps to develop respect and gratitude for the elders and for Gautama Buddha. What I mean by the elders is that during the lifetime of the Buddha, there were certain people who learned his teachings directly with him. And now, 2,500 years later, we have his teachings here. And the only reason why we have them is there's this long line of chain, this long chain with multiple links in this chain that people have been handing down the teachings from one person to the other. There's no organization, there's nobody that's charged with you are responsible for now preserving the teachings of the Buddha. Instead, it was individual people that had learned his teachings, that had benefited from his teachings, and felt that the next generation should know these as well. And they did work to be able to preserve those teachings and hand them down from generation to generation. So the only reason why we have the teachings of the Buddha is because of this long chain of people that have handed down the teachings for 2,500 years. And that was work that they chose to do on their own out of loving kindness, out of compassion, out of respect, out of being interested in seeing all of us be well. And now we're involved in that same thing. We're preserving these teachings for the next generation. And now whatever we choose to do and hand those down, that helps the next generation. So I have a lot of respect, not only for the Buddha, for having taught these teachings and done the work to get to enlightenment by himself and handed them down, but this long line of people that will never know their names that have handed down these teachings from generation to generation. So when I chant these, I realize that the only reason why I know these chants is because they've been handed down for many generations. Or the only reason why I know these teachings is they've been handed down for many generations. So you can perhaps use this to cultivate respect and gratitude yourself if you would like to do that. And then the thing that I like to share here at the end in talking about the benefits of chanting is just to be sure that students know that there is no mystical, magical benefit in chanting. You might go into certain places that they might say, hey, we have this very special chant. If you learn this chant, you'll get an extra long life. Or if you learn this chant and you practice it, you will get your boyfriend or girlfriend back. Or if you chant this chant, you will get rich and wealthy. Or if you chant this chant, you'll get to enlightenment in at least 5 years or something like this. It's like a guaranteed get out of jail free card kind of thing. If you chant this chant 10 times every single day. This isn't actually true. But remember how I taught you that you shouldn't believe anybody? You shouldn't believe me either, right? I'm sharing with you that this isn't true. Okay, well, that's what your teacher's sharing with you as an intellectual learning. But now you can reflect on this and you can see the truth for yourself. That if you went to a temple and they said, hey, here's this special chant. If you chant this chant, you'll get an extra long life. Okay, that's what they're saying to you. But now you need to reflect on that. If this is true, you should be able to look around that temple and you'll see a bunch of people who are 150 years old, 200 years old, 300 years old. And if you look around the temple and you don't see that, then you can know that this is not true, right? If there was some chant in the world that would guarantee you an extra long life of 150, 200, 300 years old, I'm sure that that chant would have been spread through wildfire through the entire world, right? Or if there was some chant that would instantly help you to get wealthy, that would have spread through humanity like in an instant, right? Or if there was some chant that would instantly get your boyfriend or girlfriend back for you, that would have spread through the community very quickly, right? None of these things are true because the reason why things occur in the world is not because some mystical, magical chant, but things occur based on cause and effect or action and result. It's the results of your decisions that produce any particular thing to occur. So chanting itself isn't producing mystical, magical benefits. It's producing these benefits here, which are enhanced qualities of mind that ultimately help you get to enlightenment more readily. So it's not the chanting itself that's producing any kind of mystical or magical benefits. It's you training your mind to improve the focus, concentration, clarity, the awareness of mind, and things like that. So let me see if you guys have any questions on the benefits of chanting and why we actually chant before I actually teach you how to do the chanting. So it looks like, Robert, you have a question. Anybody who's online, who's joining us, if you guys have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically and ask any questions that you like.
So for that first one of set up mindfulness in front of you, I'm mostly in situations where I'm meditating and I would not be able to chant, or it would be disturbing to others. Are there other ways that I could establish a form of chanting, or how can I help set up mindfulness without chanting, or do you? Yeah. So you've said you don't need it, but.
Yeah, a couple of options you can do is, one, you can do it quietly to yourself. Like there were times when I was traveling back and forth from the US to Thailand, and on a 24-hour flight, I needed to meditate at some point. So I would kind of quietly do it in my own mind. Or sometimes like my son would be sleeping next to me in the bed, and I'm up later and I'm meditating before sleep. So I wasn't able to chant while he was right next to me. So I would just quietly do it within my own mind. So that's one way that you could do it. Another thing you can do is, yes, there are other things that you could do that the Buddha didn't necessarily teach them, but they could produce mindfulness for you. Like some people like to do a little bit of yoga, or a little bit of stretching, or just as simply as going to the bathroom and emptying out the organs and kind of just having some more awareness as you gradually walk to wherever it is that you're going to meditate. So you can do these kinds of things. And, some people may be into Tai Chi or, some other kind of thing like that. All these things that are in the world, they're here for a reason, to be able to help us. And if you have done any kind of activity that brings awareness of mind, you could potentially choose to do those kinds of things. Chanting is one option, and it's an option that's really easy to learn. It's really straightforward. It's available to you at all times. But if you have something else like a yoga or something like that that you would like to use, so be it. Use those kinds of things. Okay, we have a question coming in on Zoom. Let's see. The question here is this is a coffee question. Is coffee going to help with meditation, or better, or drinking coffee but using the natural body and mind? So coffee has caffeine in it, and caffeine is a stimulant that's going to produce a stimulant in the mind. And what you're going to find is that as you train your mind more and more in these teachings, your mind's going to become more and more sensitive to these kinds of things. You may or may not notice now that the mind is stimulated through ingesting caffeine. And this is going to hinder you from being able to see the aspects of the mind and the awareness of mind in the way that you're going to need to be able to see the wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities, so that you can eliminate the unwholesome qualities of the mind and cultivate the wholesome qualities. So ultimately what you would like to do is gradually move away from coffee. And this will help you to be able to see the mind more purely and more closely, and then to be able to train the mind more readily. But when or if you ever choose to do that is your choice. We're going to talk about this more on Wednesday when we talk about the 5 precepts, but coffee isn't going to help you to meditate. It's actually going to be just the opposite, that it will produce an overactive mind. And also the other thing that caffeine does is, because it lifts up the energy, the mind never gets an opportunity to build natural energy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you have natural energy. You can sustain your energy all day long. Where in the unenlightened state, you might get to the end of your day, you might go home and you might feel like, oh my goodness, I am so exhausted. You might feel like at the end of a work day that you've kind of dragged yourself home. This is because the mind is not functioning as an enlightened being, that you're going to have certain pollutions in your mind, and you're going to feel like you're really dragging yourself through your day. And you get home and you're completely exhausted. And then what somebody might do is in the morning, they might take some caffeine to lift their mind up, and now they go for a period of time and then you kind of drop off. Well, what this does is this hinders the mind from being able to develop natural energy, where then if you have natural energy, you'll be able to sustain that because it's permanent. By the time you get to enlightenment, you don't get exhausted. You don't get tired. You will get sleepy, where you need to take a nap, or you might need to go to sleep because it's nighttime and you need some rest, but you won't get tired or you won't get exhausted. But as long as you're ingesting coffee, this is going to take the mind up there with a stimulant, so the mind never builds the natural ability to create natural energy that can be sustaining all through your day. And when I talk about natural energy, I'm not talking about the bouncing off the wall stuff. I'm talking about where you can sustain whatever effort it is that you're doing in a day-to-day life. Whereas if you get all this burst of energy and then you drop off, your productivity, you think, is actually improving with the coffee, but it's really not, because it's taking you up and then it's dropping you back off. Whereas if you can sustain your energy throughout the day, you can be successful all throughout your day, being productive in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's spending time with friends and family, whether it's doing work, or any other number of things. So as long as you rely on coffee to lift the mind up, it's not actually producing the qualities that you need, like the natural energy. Okay, so great question there. We'll talk about that more when we get to Wednesday in the 5 precepts. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you these 3 chants that we do as a way to ease into meditation. And the way I'm going to teach it to you is we're going to do it 4 times. First, I'm going to do it by myself once, just so you can hear it. Then I'm going to do it a second time. And when I do it the second time, I'm going to show you where the breath is so that you can learn where the breath is. Then we're going to do it a third time, and all of us will do it together. And I will guide you in how to do it in the breath on the third iteration through. And then the fourth iteration, I'm not going to guide you at all. We'll just be chanting, and you'll be able to practice it as a group. So you'll kind of see how this goes. So I'll show you. This is the first time through for this first chant. We call this first chant the triple gem or the triple jewel because there's 3 phrases, and each of the phrases is to help you build confidence in the Buddha, the teachings, in the community. And whenever you're starting a event, like if you go to a temple or something, they will typically start with this particular chant. Because in order to get to enlightenment, you need to have confidence in the Buddha, you need to have access to his teachings, and you need to be part of a community. If you just had one of these things, or 2 of these things, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So if you had confidence in the Buddha and you had access to his teachings, but you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment because you wouldn't have anybody to help you to learn how to get to enlightenment. If you just had access to his teachings, okay, but you don't have confidence in the Buddha and you're not part of a community. Or if you're just part of a community, but you don't have access to the teachings and you don't have confidence in the Buddha, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So you're going to need to have all 3 of these things, and you'll slowly build these over time. You might not have confidence in the Buddha right now, like we talked about. You might have doubt, and that's okay. That's where you're at now. But as you investigate the teachings and you get more benefit out of the teachings, you'll build your confidence because now you do have access to the teachings. They're available to you freely. You can access the books, you can access the classes and all these different things. And you are part of a community, like spending time together with each other. This will really help you to be able to get to enlightenment because you'll say, oh, I really like how Rachel practiced generosity. Or I really like how, Robert did this. And you might decide to integrate some of that into your life because you're around other people who are practicing these teachings. And you don't have to tell them that that's what you're doing, but just spending time in a community, you'll kind of observe how people do things, and you'll be like, wow, I really like how that person did that. I think I would like to incorporate some of that into my life too. So by being part of a community, not only are you learning from a teacher, but you're learning from each other too as you interact with each other on a day-to-day basis. So you would need all 3 of these things. So that's why we start each individual event at a Buddhist temple with this particular chant. And we're chanting here in the Pali language. This Pali language, it's the language that the original teachings of the Buddha are captured in. And if you're practicing this form of Buddhist teachings, no matter where you are in the world, everybody chants in the same language. So if you're in Sri Lanka or Myanmar or Laos or Cambodia or southern Vietnam or Thailand or anywhere in the world that's practicing the Theravada tradition, they all chant with the Pali language. There's a little bit of a different dialect, a little bit of a difference in terms of the way they pronounce things, but by and large, everybody can chant together. Whereas if you learned other traditions of Buddhist teachings that people share, you would need to first learn Chinese and then learn how to chant in that particular language. Or if you were in Vietnam, like northern Vietnam, you would need to first learn Vietnamese and then learn how to chant in that particular language. But this is like a unifying language that we all use within this tradition, that you could go sit in any temple in Sri Lanka or South America or Europe that is practicing these teachings, and they would all be chanting the same way. So that's one of the other reasons that would be helpful to actually chant, because you can participate in any kind of Buddhist event at any Buddhist temple anywhere in the world by learning the Pali. So again, I'm going to chant this first so you can hear it, and that's the first iteration that we'll do. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanhang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang namasami. Supatipano bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang namami. Namo. Oops, sorry. I went on to the next one. Normally we do all three. Okay, so this was the three phrases, right? The triple gem or the triple jewel. Okay, so that was the first time through, and just guys got a chance to hear it. Okay, now the second time through, I'm going to show you where the breath is so that you'll understand where the breath is. Okay, so here what you do is you take a nice deep breath at the beginning, and then I would say Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, and then I take a little breath here. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. And then usually at the end of this phrase, there's usually a bow, but everybody decides for themselves what you would like to do. It's your practice. If you're in a large group of Thai people, they will probably be bowing to the floor. This is called a klop, that they will bow to the front of the room. That's not something that I usually teach, but it's something that you'll see, and you might decide to practice that if you like. But at the very least, you might decide to do a bow like this. But again, it's up to you. It's not about everyone doing something that everyone's going to do it exactly the same. Everybody decides for themselves what you would like to do. So if someone's going to bow, they will usually bow at the end of each phrase. So as you're bowing, or as you're just sitting there, you take a nice deep breath at the end of the phrase. And now you go to the next one. Sāvaka Bhagavata Dhammo. Then there's a little breath here. Dhammang namasami. And then as you're bowing or as you're choosing to sit there, you take a nice deep breath. Here there's going to be two breaths. Supatipano bhagavato. Little breath here. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Then a little breath here. Saṅghang namami. And then you would bow if you're going to bow. And then you take a nice deep breath and move into the next chant. So you're not required to take breaths here. This is just me kind of guiding you and helping you to see where to take a breath. Where you choose to take a breath, whether you choose to bow or not, totally up to you. It's your life, it's your decisions and your results. I'm just providing you guidance of if you would like to do this chanting, this is the way that you'll see some people doing it. And these natural pauses in the chant is a great time to take a breath if you need a breath. But hey, if you can chant all the way through in one breath, go for it. It's up to you, right? But this is ideal places where you could take a breath if you'd like to. So it's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way. It's just me being a tour guide and kind of pointing out to you some things to think about and some things to consider. So now we're going to do this a third time where all of us can be chanting together. And now I'm going to guide you on where the breath is. Okay, so if you'd like to take a nice deep breath, and now we'll chant this together. You ready? Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. Breath. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. So if you're going to bow, you bow here, and then you take a nice deep breath. Sāvaka Bhagavata Dhammo. Little breath here. Dhammang namasami. Again, nice deep breath here. Supatipano bhagavato. Breath. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Little breath. Sanghang namami. Okay, so this is the third time through with a little bit of guidance. Okay, so now we're going to do it a fourth time where I'm not going to guide you at all. It's just be us chanting together. And what you would like to do is eliminate any shyness here. Usually when the mind is learning something like this and you're in a group of people, it's like, oh, I don't want anybody to hear my voice, right? But get rid of that shyness. Nobody's judging you. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's, paying attention. There might be some people from American Idol watching our live broadcast that might hear you, and it could actually be advantageous to you to chant really well. So you never know who might be watching our live broadcast. So really project your voice, right? The more that we chant together, it'll be very harmonious and it'll be very powerful if we're chanting together in harmony. So feel free to really let it out, okay? Imagine that you're on The Voice or American Idol or Canadian Idol or something like that, okay? All right, so you guys ready? I'll show you guys something. If you'd like to, when some people are learning this, what they like to do, if you'd like to put your hands together, you can hold it like this. This is the way some people like to learn. They will kind of hold it like this. You don't have to do that. You could put it on your lap or on the floor, wherever you'd like to put it. But that's one of the ways that some people like to hold it when they're actually learning how to chant. Okay? All right, so let's take a nice deep breath, and then I'm not going to instruct you from this point forward. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakevata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakevato Savaka Sankho Sanghang namami. Okay, a little bit going on there, a little bit, yeah. I heard a little bit. When I start not being able to hear myself, that's when I know you guys are chanting, right? So sometimes when you guys are chanting, I can't hear myself, so that means that you guys are doing a good job of chanting. So feel free to let it go, let it rip, okay? Any questions on this chant? This is called the triple gem or the triple jewel. Mm-hmm.
I have one question. That Pakawan, how do you pronounce that?
Pakawa, okay. So this is a common question. So for those of you guys online, Rachel's asking about the last word of the first sentence, right? Or the first part of the chant. So it's Arahang Samma Sambuddho Pakawa, Pakawa, Pakawa. Sometimes people say it sounds like I'm saying M. I think because of the mic, when I started chanting with the mic, I had to watch the p, because it pops in the mic. So I've kind of softened it up a little bit. But if I wasn't using the mic, you'd probably hear more of the p, Pakawa. Yep, so that's the way it sounds. And you'll see some of these syllables throughout the other chants as well. You even see it here. Savakato Bhagavata. So you can kind of see it repeated there. Any other questions? Okay, check online here. See if you guys have any questions online. Yeah, we just had one come in. Let me see. Okay. It is saying that there are some chanting words could help with opening chakras. Can I know your opinion? So for what I teach and what the Buddha teaches, we don't teach anything about the chakras. It's not part of the path to enlightenment. But if somebody else is teaching that, I would encourage you to talk with those people and see what they say. Because since I don't teach anything related to the chakras, I wouldn't be the person to talk about that. But based on the way that I share chanting and based on the way the Buddha shared chanting, it's not associated with the chakras at all. It's all about training your mind. Everything on the path to enlightenment is about training your mind. But you could ask somebody that makes that claim, you could ask them how or what does it do, right? That would be able to answer your question. Okay. So I'm not seeing any questions anywhere else. So let's go to the next one, which is I refer to as the Namo Tassa. This is, in my opinion, a much easier chant because it's just one phrase and it's being repeated 3 times. If you're growing up as a Thai child and you're like 1 or 2 years old, you're starting to mouth a few words, this is the chant they're going to teach you. You can see little kids like 3 years old, 4 years old, they know how to chant this. So when I was learning how to chant, I learned this one first. And then I went to the Arahang Sama Sambuddhasa, the triple gem. And then I went to the third one. So if you would like to kind of break it down in smaller pieces, you might try to learn this one first, kind of master this one and then move on to the others. But some people just like to learn all of them all at one time. Just jump right in. It kind of depends. When you go swimming, do you jump into the deep end or do you usually go to the shallow end and you kind of gradually make your way to the deep end? You know, so you have to decide for yourself, do you like to gradually learn something like that or you like to just jump in and just try to learn all 3 at one time? So you can decide for yourself. But this is one that if you would like to learn it slower, you could learn this one first because it tends to be a simpler one. So I'm going to do the same thing, the 4 iterations. The first one I'll do it myself. Then the second one I'll do it and guide you on the breath and kind of showing you where the breath is. The third time we'll do it as a group and I'll guide you in the breath. And then the 4th time we'll just do it as a group without any guidance. So here's the way this one sounds. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's the first time through. Okay, so now I'm going to do it again, and I'll show you where the breath is, but I'm going to take a little drink of water. Okay, so here's the second time through with the breath. So here at the beginning, you would have taken a nice deep breath at the end of the last chant as you were bowing, if that's what you chose to do. And with that nice deep breath, Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath here. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath here. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so then there would be a nice breath there to move into the next chant. And with this one, there's no bow or anything like that. It's just straight, just the same phrase repeated 3 times. Okay, so now I'm going to do it with you, and I'll give you the guidance of the breath on this 3rd time through. So if you'd like to join along, you can join along for the chant. Okay? So nice deep breath here. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, really simple, very straightforward. Okay, so now let's do it a fourth time, and I won't guide you in the breath at all. We'll just kind of try to harmonize in our chanting. Okay. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, sounding good there. Starting to hear you guys a little bit. Nice, good job. Any questions on this one? No questions? Let's see if we have anything online here. You have a question, Robert? Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
So you're saying they do these, monks do these, or do people do these before they meditate, or what's the specific like culture around doing these?
Monks and householders do them both. So monks are people too. We call ordained practitioners and household practitioners. So usually what will happen at an event is the ordained practitioners will kick it off. They'll kind of start it off. And somebody, like say for example, this first chant, I would kick it off, I would say, Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. And then the whole group would then come in. Hotang Bhagavanang Apivatemi. But of course, everybody does a little bit different. There's not just one way, but those are the things that you'll see sometimes. Like the head monk will start it off and they'll get it going, and then everyone else will come in, boom, and you can hear it. It's like boom. You can hear the harmony. It feels really powerful in a group of people. But there's nothing mystical or magical about it. It's just that we're working together as a team. We're harmonizing as a group. We're doing something as a group, which is a lot more challenging than doing something alone oftentimes, right? So harmonizing together, it kind of signifies us as a group working together and accomplishing something wonderful and beautiful. And then at different times during the event, there might be like these three chants that I'm going to teach you to open up the event. But then there's different times where the monks will chant something, and then the household practitioners will chant something back. And it's kind of like this call and response where the monks might say a certain chant, and then the householders will repeat back something that the monk just chanted. So you'll see this kind of call and response sometimes as well. Mm-hmm. But just remember, all of that isn't anything that the Buddha did, right? Because you'll see a lot of chanting sometimes. In some places you go to, they really emphasize chanting. In other places, they'll really emphasize meditation. But in reality, the Buddha taught this balanced practice where you're learning, yes, meditation, and yeah, you're learning chanting, but you also need to learn these other teachings too, because you could meditate for, say you meditated, 12 hours a day, but let's just say 4 hours a day you went outside and you were bitter and harsh and hostile to people in your speech and your actions. You're not going to be able to get to enlightenment that way. You're going to need to improve your moral conduct when you go out into the world. So it's not just about meditation, not just about chanting. It's about learning these other things too and having more of a balanced approach. So you will go to some places that really emphasize chanting. I've been to places that they'll chant for an hour or two, and that's what their emphasis is the chanting. But for me, I just do a little bit of chanting like this just to help you with the meditation. Okay, no other questions? All right. So Now we'll move on to this third one. I found this third one to be a bit more challenging to learn, but some people say it's easier for them, right? Everybody's going to have different experiences in life. Not everyone's going to have the same experience. For me, I found it challenging. You might find it quite easy. So again, I'm going to go through these 4 iterations to be able to help you learn it. So here's how it sounds. Iti piso emakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatavap Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, so that's how it sounds. So now I'll show you where the breath is. You might be hearing these because there's kind of like a natural pause where you can take a breath. You might already be identifying where that is, but let me point it out for you. So you would have taken a nice deep breath at the end of the last chant, and now you would say, Iti piso emakewa. There's a little breath here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Big breath. Vichacharanang Sammuno. Little breath. Sakhato Rokavitu. Nice deep breath here. Anutero Purisa. Little breath. Dhamma Sati Satatavap Manusanang. Little breath. Bhutto Bhagavati. I tend to kind of drag that out with the chanting, where oftentimes you'll hear Thai people say Bhagavati. They'll just kind of stop it kind of abruptly. I kind of think it sounds nicer to drag it out, right? So you'll hear different dialects and different ways of chanting, not only from region to region, like Sri Lanka, Thailand, Laos, you'll hear a little bit of a difference. Even from temple to temple within Thailand, you'll hear a little bit of a difference in the chanting. There's not just one fixed way to actually chant. So you'll learn here what I'm sharing with you. This is kind of chanting with Pali, using like a Thai dialect, because I kind of grew up in the Thai world, so I heard Thai people chanting. But when I hear Sri Lankan people chanting, it's very similar. There's just a little bit of a difference here and there. So you'll hear differences from temple to temple and region to region. So for me, I drag that last part out. I say Bhagavati, and then I usually do a bow at the end. Okay, so this is the second time through. So now I'll help you on the third one. We'll do it together, and then I'll show you where to breathe. So if you'd like to take a breath there, you can, but it's up to you. Okay, so take a nice deep breath here. Iti piso emakewa. Breath. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Breath. Vichacharanang Sammuno. Breath. Sakhato Rokavitu. Breath. Anutero Purisa. Breath. Dhamma Sati Satatavap Manusanang. Little breath. Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, So this is the third chant. So now let's do it together without any guidance, where we can just kind of harmonize. You guys can get in the flow of actually doing it. Okay. Iti piso emakewa arahang samma sambuddho vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokavito anutero purisa dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, so that's the third chant. Congratulations, you did them all. All right. So, any questions on this one or any of the other ones? No questions? Okay. So here's what I think we should do. I think we should go through all three of them at one time. Start from the top. It'll take us 2.5 minutes. No guidance, no instruction, or nothing. Start from the top and just right on through. You guys game? You up for it? Would like to try? Okay, thumbs up. All right. Yeah, you have a choice. Everything's a choice. The only thing you have to do is die. You could just sit there and be quiet, or you could get up and go to the bathroom, or you could go stand outside. Yeah, you have a choice. Yeah. Or if you guys all said no, that we're not interested, I would switch to do something else. Yeah, you have a choice for sure. You guys ready? You guys would like to do it?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Arahang samma sambuddho emakewa Bhutang mahakewanang apivateyami Savakato mahakewata dhammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano mahakewato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakewa Arahang samma sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokavito Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Bhagavato Bhagavati. Okay, I'm starting to hear you guys, especially over here. I'm hearing a lot over here. Yeah. Okay. Any questions at all? Any things you guys would like to ask about chanting? Let's see if we got anything here online. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So it's a little after 2:30. What I would like to propose, and it's your choice, is that we start at the top with chanting, and then we ease into meditation, and I'll guide you guys in a meditation session. And then when we're done meditating, we'll come out of meditation with some chanting as well. Would you guys like to do something like that? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Usually what I do is offer you guys a bathroom break at this point. Would you guys like a little 5-minute kind of bio break to use the restroom? Yeah, stretch the legs. Okay, why don't we take a 5 minutes and then come back, and that'll give us about a 10-minute, 15-minute meditation. Kind of a short one just to get us started as our first one for the class. Okay, so welcome back from your little bio break. We'll do the chanting to ease into meditation, then I'll guide you guys in a meditation session. We'll just do a short, kind of abbreviated version, and then we'll come out with the chanting, just to give you guys a little taste, a little flavor of meditation before we end up our day today. Okay, so if you'd like to ease in with chanting, and then I'll guide you in meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Otang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, And that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in naturally through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Once the breath is well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. Either the sound of the breath coming into the nose, or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะเขวาพุทธังมะเขวันนังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมนามังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาดาวา sorry ดาวามนุส did we say anutaro yet?
We're in the midst of it.
So anutero purisa dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Puto Bhagavati. Okay, good job. So when you make mistakes in life, just laugh at them, right? No need to be so serious about it. So serious about life, right? Sometimes we're so serious and uptight about life. Just laugh about the mistakes, then learn from it and do better next time, right? That's all you got to do. All right, so any questions on the chanting? No? Chanting? Could, yes, if you could use that. Thank you. The people online will really appreciate that.
I have a question that's unrelated to the program. I'm just wondering if people at this temple, and for that matter at any of the temples in Chiang Mai, are supposing one wants to just come and practice meditation, maybe walking and sitting meditation, is it appropriate to go into one of the temples here, and like for example on the grounds here, and just practice?
Yeah, you can just walk in any temple, sit down and meditate if you like, or do walking meditation or whatever you like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these temples, they don't belong to anybody.
Right.
But yet they belong to everybody. So it's like a community center that you can go in and out of. Usually when people go visit a temple, they will give a little bit of money for like upkeep and maintenance and water and electric, 20 baht, 50 baht, depending on what you're doing at the temple. You're not required to give an offering, but it's helpful because it maintains the system for everybody to have access to them.
Totally.
So you might consider doing something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else you guys would like to ask about before we finish for the day?
One thing a Thai person did tell me when I went into a temple was they said it's not appropriate to sit cross-legged, or it's like you're supposed to sit on your knees or something. I don't know. Is that...
You hear different people that will tell you different things like that. But remember, the Buddha never taught all these rules and commandments. You'll see people that say women can't go into a certain temple, or women have to dress a certain way, or any of these things. The Buddha didn't teach any of that stuff. That's what people are adding into it now. You do whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
If somebody else is angry or frustrated about that, they're causing it themselves because of their cravings, their desires. So that's why when you come here, I don't have any rules. Right? You would like to sit on the floor, sit on the floor. Sit in a chair, sit in a chair. You'd like to lay on the floor. I've had students come in and lay down. I had one student one time in this particular course. She came in and she slept in the back of the room the entire course. She would come in the morning. She would do meditation with us. She would go back there and sleep. And then at lunchtime, she would go eat lunch, and she'd come back and sleep some more. And by the end of the class, she told me that it was really hard for her to sleep at home because her dog was having some issues. It was incontinent, and it was peeing in the bed with her, and she was having difficulty sleeping, and this was the only place she could come to sleep. And I was like, wonderful, use it for that. If that's what you're getting out of this class, then wonderful. And every once in a while, she would pop her head up and ask a question, right? So if a teacher is truly teaching the way that the Buddha taught, there's no rules or anything like that, but you'll hear people that will say, oh, you're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to do that. But that's just what's in that person's mind, right? Like the Buddha didn't teach all those kinds of things. It helps to be kind of generally aware of some of those things, but if somebody gets mad or angry at you, like some people will teach you not to point your feet at the statue of the Buddha. You might have heard this one, right? It's nice to be aware of those kinds of things, because when you're in a group of Thai people, then they are less likely to get upset and angry. But if they do get upset or angry, you're not causing it. They're causing it themselves. So when you go into a new culture, it's nice to know a little bit about that culture, but the natural laws of existence cut through all of that. It cuts through all that culture. And it's like, okay, well, if you sit cross-legged or you sit on your knees, are you causing any harm to anybody? Nope, you sure aren't. So you cut through all of that and you can see like, yeah, you're not causing any harm. Yeah, but that person got angry. Yeah, because they have a craving for you to sit cross-legged, or they have a craving for you to sit on your knees, right? And that's why they're getting angry, not because of you, of what you did, but because of what's in their mind. And then when you can see that very clearly, you can be like, yeah, I can be at ease now because I know I'm not making anybody angry. They're causing it themselves. But other people will adamantly try to convince you that you're making them angry, or you've got to sit this way, or you've got to do this, or you've got to do that. And this is where you can just cut through all of that and see true reality. And then you can get very comfortable and be at ease in making decisions because you know you're not causing harm to anybody. Mm-hmm.
So just take it one step further.
In terms of the women thing and not having to cover themselves,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought through my question, so I'll ask in another context.
Yeah. Let me share this since we're on this topic. So there are things that they do at temples, like women covering themselves, right? It's helpful to understand the why behind this. Even though it's a rule, like if I was the head of a temple, I wouldn't have any rules that women have to cover themselves. If a woman wants to come or a man wants to come wearing any particular clothes, come, be here. This is where you can learn and you can grow and you develop. But the reason why they do this is because the monastery is a place where ordained practitioners are residing. It's their home. And they're working on eliminating their sensual desire, one of those fetters. And in the process of getting to that point where you eliminate sensual desire, your desire can be peaked up, and it can make it harder for you to get rid of it. So by going into someone's home and dressing in a certain way, it's kind of like respecting that they're trying to get to enlightenment, and you're not interested in exciting their sensual desire. But of course, these individuals, they're in the world. If they're looking at Facebook, if they go walk out on the street, they're going to see somebody wearing something that they would maybe want them to not wear, right? And they're going to need to learn how to deal with that within their own mind. The world doesn't become a peaceful place by everybody following certain rules. So if I was leading a temple, women, if they would like to come in, men would like to come in, whatever you'd like to wear, it's up to you. It doesn't affect me because I've got control over my own mind. But sometimes what they like to do is they like to try to create an environment which is more conducive to people getting to enlightenment. So it's kind of like the womb of a woman. Like, this is the perfect environment to grow and develop, to become a human being as a fetus. So the monastery is the same way. It's like the perfect environment to grow and develop. So there's monks here that are trying to get rid of their sensual desire, that haven't gotten rid of it yet. And if they see somebody dressing in a certain way, then their sensual desire might rise up, and it's harder for them to kind of keep it at bay. So in the process of getting there, they're going to need to do that. But once you're enlightened, it doesn't matter. You could see someone completely naked and you would have no interest in having sex at all. Not because the person isn't attractive or anything, but just because your mind doesn't think that way. It just doesn't have that feeling any longer. So, you're kind of respecting the people who are in the process of getting to enlightenment by wearing certain clothes. But for me, you can wear whatever you like to wear. Mm-hmm. Any questions? You can sit however you like to sit. Yeah.
So you don't make restriction if someone comes in like tank top and shorts?
Mm-hmm. I've had people come and sit right in front of me wearing a dress and sit cross-legged, and you can see right through, right into their private area. That has no effect because your mind's trained, and okay, that's what they're choosing to do. That's their life. So I'm not going to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, because it's their choice, it's their decisions, it's their life. If they ask me, if they said, David, do you have something to cover me? Sure, I'll give you something if you'd like something, but I'm not going to tell them that they have to do that, because it's not affecting me at all. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Let's see if we have anything online. Let's see. Yep, I don't see anything online. Okay, so what I'll do then is just let you guys know that tomorrow morning we're going to start off with meditation right away. We're going to start with these chants. So when you come in, you can get a chanting sheet. When you come in the morning, get a place to sit, and then we're going to start right away with chanting. And then we'll go right into meditation, and then we'll come out of meditation, and we're going to move into sharing with you the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha, where we're going to start off learning the Four Noble Truths. This is where you're going to learn the problem in the unenlightened mind, the cause of that problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward, how to completely eliminate it. Then we're going to move through all the other factors of the Eightfold Path using the original words of the Buddha. I'm going to explain to you how to learn it intellectually. Then I'm going to teach you how to reflect on it to see that it's true. Then I'm going to teach you how to practice it so that then you can experience the real results by integrating it into your life. So that's what we'll do in the morning. Then in the afternoon, I'm going to teach you meditation. We're going to do meditation, and I'm going to teach it to you, because today we just kind of did it to give you guys the experience of it. But the afternoon tomorrow, I'm going to teach it to you, breathing mindfulness meditation. And of course, we'll take our hour-and-a-half lunch at somewhere tomorrow as well. So enjoy your day, and perhaps I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you'd like to stick around tonight, we have a game night that's going to happen here at 6 o'clock. You're welcome to come. There's going to be different people that have taken classes with me at different times that are in the area, and they'll come and you guys can play games. We can get to know each other, spend time. Bailan's created a playlist of music that we're going to have on the speakers playing. So he's got some music to play for you guys. He's been working on that for a few days. So if you guys would like to come, I think we're even going to order some food and have some drinks and stuff like that. Of course, all good, clean fun. So if you'd like to come meet some people who are into wholesome things and into having good, clean fun, it'll be 6 o'clock here. We're going to get started. So perhaps we'll see you guys then or tomorrow, or maybe both. Okay, so have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.